I was not ready for the ending to this one. In the early 2010s, two 15-year-old friends were camping at a state forest with their families. One night, the friends decide they want to go explore the woods around their campsite, but they want to see how far they can get without using a flashlight. A little ways into their trip, they start to hear some whispering behind them, and they quickly turn around, pull out their flashlights, and start looking for what was making the sound. After a short search, they don't find anything, and so even though they're a little bit freaked out, they decide to put their flashlights away and carry on into the woods. After a little while, they start to hear the whispering again. So they pull out their flashlights. Now they're determined to find out what the heck is making this sound. They do a very thorough search, they don't find anything, and at this point, they're too freaked out and they decide to start heading back. As they start retracing their steps, they see what was making the sound. A woman comes out from behind a tree, crawling towards them, muttering random words. She sees them, stands up, and says, "Oh, I'm sorry. I'm looking for my campsite." They're a half mile from the nearest campsite.
She woke up at 1 a.m. to someone trying to break open her door. A woman from the Philippines by the name McKay woke up in the middle of the night to the horrifying sounds of someone screaming at her door, desperately trying to get in. Someone can be heard screaming for help, begging to be let in as they try opening the door. Scared this could be a trap to lure her out, she stood quiet for just a few minutes, causing the strange individual to suddenly leave. The mysterious video quickly went viral, with viewers begging to know more and asking her to open the door. Now, after 2 more nights of this strange late-night visitor knocking at her front door, she decides to open the door and sees this. A woman with black hair can be seen crouched down in an animal-like manner as she quickly closes the door. After calling the authorities, there were no signs of this woman anywhere nearby. Living by the woods in the middle of nowhere, it's important to follow better judgment and prioritize safety, especially when being visited by strangers.
Walking down the trail, me, Gavin, and Greg. So what's up, Gavin? Hey, here's Greg. What's up, Greg? He's the quiet type. We can't get him to talk. Ah, we know you, Greg. We know you. We know you.
Alright, going randonauting, and it took us to this shady park in the middle of nowhere, so let's see what we find. All we see so far is like trees, a bridge. I think we have to go over this bridge, and our location's a little down there. What the fuck? Oh, what the fuck? Should we keep going? What the fuck? Oh my god, is she following us?
Do you know the story of Germany's Black Forest? It's a really, really good one, and I'd love to visit this place. Tucked away in southwest Germany is a stretch of woodland so dense, so dark, that sunlight barely touches the ground. For centuries, the Black Forest has been spoken about as a place where people vanish, where strange lights move between the trees, and where something ancient still watches. One of its most chilling tales is of Der Grossman, the tall man. Locals say he roams in the forest with impossibly long arms and fingers like gnarled branches. He doesn't speak, he just points. And if he points at you, you're never seen again. Medieval woodcuts from the region show villagers holding their children close, a shadowy, towering figure lurking just beyond the tree line. Some say the Grossman lures children deeper into the forest, promising games or treasures, and they're never heard from again. Even in modern times, hikers talk about feeling watched, their skin crawling, the sound of branches snapping just out of sight. And when they turn around, nothing's there. Is it just an old folktale to keep kids from wandering too far? Or is there something in the Black Forest? You can listen to the full story on the Whispering Woods podcast, link in bio.
Picture this, you're hiking through the Massachusetts wilderness when you suddenly feel eyes watching your every move. And that's when you see them, 2 to 3 foot tall, gray-skinned creatures with glowing eyes and sinister grins. Meet the Pukwudgies. Pukwudgies were known by the Wampanoag people for generations, even before Europeans arrived in the area. According to the legend, they were once friendly, but humanity betrayed them, and ever since, they've been an absolute menace. And these aren't your average creatures of folklore either. No, they're shape-shifting tricksters with a taste for chaos. Now, Pukwudgies are said to have multiple abilities, like being able to appear and disappear at will. And if you're lost out in the woods, they may try to help you find your way out, or off a cliff. They're also said to use poison arrows on people, and have the ability of pyrokinesis, and may appear as a porcupine to fool you. Sightings and encounters of these little beings apparently still happen today within the Freetown State Forest and Hockomock Swamp, which are all within the Bridgewater Triangle of Massachusetts. Now drop this emoji if you think you're brave enough to venture into Pukwudgie territory. And remember, if you're hiking out in Massachusetts and something feels off, the Pukwudgies just might be watching you. But what do you think? Make sure to leave a comment and let me know what cryptid or legend you want to hear about next.
What is that? Has anyone ever heard of the Hidebehind creature? The Hidebehind is a fearsome nocturnal critter who preys upon anyone who dares to wander the woods by themselves. The nocturnal creature itself was blamed for the disappearance of early lodgers who went into the woods looking. What? That's their business. Just like the name says, the Hidebehind has the ability to actually hide behind trees. I'm sure we all remember that episode of Gravity Falls. Honestly, I think what scares me most about this folklore is the fact that when you turn around, the creature itself can conceal itself behind any tree. No matter how slim, how big, how very tiny, it can conceal itself. So a group of people went into the woods to check out the Hidebehind legend. Apparently going deep into the woods, picking out a tree that looks appealing to you, and then carving the name, I hide behind, in the tree while counting 10 backwards, open your eyes, and then walk home. It says the Hidebehind will follow you, and if it grabs you before you can get out of the forest, you lose the game. There's an actual picture of someone who caught something that they believe to be the Hidebehind. This is an actual photo, and people who've seen this photo, well, they say it's haunted. But don't worry, people who shared the photo after seeing it are okay. So just share the photo, and you'll be fine. I'm sharing it with y'all. If you guys think I should do the Hidebehind video on live, then let me know in the comment section.
This might be the most terrifying footage ever recorded in the woods. A hiker was hiding behind a tree because he spotted a strange group of figures standing perfectly still in the distance. He thought it was just a prank, but watch what happens when the leader turns around. That is not a mask. When they realized he was watching, they dropped to all fours and started hunting him down like animals. He was trapped with nowhere to run, but he had one protection left. He pulled out the Holy Quran and pointed it at them. The reaction was instant. They were so terrified of the book that they sprinted back into the fog at a speed that is impossible for a human being.
This is the most haunted forest in America, the Freetown State Forest. In the 1970s, a young girl was found tied to a tree here. She had been assaulted and left for dead by a killer. And in that same decade, a cult held devil-worshipping ceremonies out here and committed a number of murders. One of these murder victims' heads was found, but her body was never located. It's possible it's still in these woods. Bigfoot calls this place home along with spirits, demons, and Ronald Reagan saw a UFO here. My full documentary that I filmed here will be on my YouTube this evening. It's spooky.
Imagine you're staying in a house by yourself when you hear a knock at the door. You open the slide to see this man, and he's begging you to come outside. He says that earlier that night when you ran outside to grab something from your car, someone snuck into the house when you weren't looking, and he thinks that you should come outside with him. Now, you don't hear anything inside of your house, and you didn't see anyone sneak in or hear it while you were outside, but the man insists that you have to get out now because the person who snuck into your house wants to kill you, and if you leave with him, he can help you. So what do? Do you go outside with the stranger, or do you stay the night in the house and risk an intruder being in there with you who wants to kill you? This is the opening scene to the horror movie Oddity, the scariest movie I've seen this year, and the movie only gets more dreadful and eerie as it goes on. The movie has just this unending sense of dread and some jump scares that really got me, and I don't jump that easily. Like, I almost had to turn the movie off during this scene where a character has to open a tent to see if there's something outside, which I just did an episode on my podcast about horrifying camping stories because I literally think camping is one of the scariest activities you can do. But yeah, I cannot recommend this movie enough. I found it very, very, very scary. I watched it on Shudder and it came out last year, I believe. It's Irish, and I haven't really heard much buzz about it, but it was fantastic.
Let's talk about one of the most terrifying short films on the internet. There's a Man in the Woods.
I remember Sid saying, "There's a man in the woods." That's how the rumors began.
This short film begins with a group of children who are picking honeysuckle at the edge of a woods. One child, Sid, wants all the honeysuckle for himself, so he tells the teacher that there is a man in the woods, inventing a rumor that scares the rest of the children away from the bushes. The teacher knows that it's a lie, but the other children have a vivid imagination, and they begin to imagine the man in the woods wherever they go. And they also tell their parents. Despite his innocence, the man is fired for child neglect and is unable to get a job elsewhere because the rumors have spread. What kind of a teacher ignores the threat of a man in the woods? As a result of all this, the man falls into a habit of abusing alcohol and drugs, and he is justifiably angry. However, what he does next is not justifiable, and it makes for one of the most terrifying scenes I've ever seen in animation.
I can play along. I can be good. Do you hear that, Sid? There's a man in the woods.
I'd highly recommend watching this film for yourself, as I consider it to be a masterpiece, and remember this the next time that you think about starting a rumor. Follow for more.
Epping Forest in Essex has long been a place where the line between reality and the supernatural blurs. Spanning over 6,000 acres of ancient woodland, it holds centuries of history and countless stories of eerie encounters. Many accounts share a chilling common thread: the unnerving sensation of being observed by an unseen presence lurking just beyond clear view. In 1970, two hikers near Hangman's Hill experienced an overwhelming dread, hearing footsteps that seemed to follow them closely, though no one was visible. In 2003, a police patrol car near High Beach mysteriously broke down. The officers reported a sudden drop in temperature and sensed a cold, intangible presence. They also caught a glimpse of a fleeting figure moving swiftly between the trees. Local folklore tells of a restless highwayman, believed to be Dick Turpin, whose silent form is said to haunt the forest's shadowed paths, especially on misty autumn nights. Even today, visitors frequently describe sudden chills and the unmistakable feeling of unseen company. Whether these experiences stem from imagination or something beyond, Epping Forest remains a place where many insist they are never truly alone.
There are so many creepy doors found in forests all over the world. This one located in Slovenia. But what's hiding behind them? And what happens if you go near it? When people find these doors, they're so creeped out by them that they just take a picture of it and they don't even try to open it. Does something supernatural happen when you go through the door, or is it all just a theory? There's even a really scary movie made about one, where a family finds one in the middle of the woods near their new home and they see a dark entity behind it. But the real question is, would you open the door? Girl, bye, I would never.
Shoo! Should I have read this story at nighttime? No, I shouldn't have. Am I gonna share it with you? Yes, I am. This story was sent to me by one of you guys, and she said that I could share it with everybody else, so thank you so much. I'm gonna put her username up here if you guys have any questions. As an introduction, I'm Native American and have lived on the reserve half my life as a little girl. And if you've heard stories from a Native person before, you know how scary our reservations can get. This story is from a relative of mine, and it takes place just outside of the res. One night, my relative and his two friends were at a typical res party. Later on in the night, everyone got tired and decided to go home, but his friend who was driving would have to drop everybody off first. Ugh, I would hate to be that friend. So my relative was sat in the back seat by himself with his two friends up front. They were making their way back home until they came upon a lady walking on the side of the road in the dark all by herself. Everyone on the reserve knows not to pick up hitchhikers because of the possible dangers, but since this was a long time ago, they didn't see any harm in picking her up and offering her a ride. So they stopped on the side of the road and she gets in the car and everything seems to be going well until my relative drops his phone when they hit a bump and it falls to the feet of the lady sitting next to him in the back seat. He reaches over to grab his phone, but instead he feels something rough, cold, and scratchy. Since it was dark and he couldn't see, he turns his phone on and angles it towards whatever he touched and lets out a yell, "Stop the car, get her out." His friends didn't hesitate and pulled over to the side of the road. He opens her side of the door and kicks her out of the car, and he tells his friend to drive, and they do. Once he knew they were safe, his friend asked him what happened to make him act so frantically. That's when he told them what happened, and that when he shined his phone light towards what he had touched, he seen the hoofs of a goat and lifted the lady's dress only to see that she had goat hoofs for feet. That's about as far as the story goes, but the goat lady is a common legend myth in my reservation, and my relative believes he for sure had an encounter with her that night. I'm just glad she actually got out of the car, because like, what if something would have happened? But what do you guys think?
Living next to the woods can be creepy. It's not for everyone, because you will see things, you will hear things, it can get very weird. And there is a particular set of rules that if you find yourself living next to the woods or the forest, that you should follow. Now, the first rule is at nighttime, always lock your doors, always close your curtains. Also, at nighttime, never look out the window facing the woods. If you hear a knock at your door at nighttime, do not answer it, especially if it is your back door. You will see lights coming from the woods. Do not follow them. Do not try and communicate with them. Just ignore them. And the most important thing you must remember is that anything you see outside, most likely it's not real. You are not seeing it, or you are not hearing it. Now, this story comes out of Tennessee. There's this man named Christian. Christian said that at one point in time, he grew up in this farmhouse that was out in the boonies. And he said they lived deep, deep in the woods, and it was a dirt road that took several miles to get to their house. And they literally had no neighbors around. Well, he said when they first moved in, there was a lot of weird stuff that would happen. For instance, the dogs didn't want to go anywhere near the woods. They would get to the tree line and they would turn around. And it was like they were afraid of something. They also noticed these deer. They would come into their yard at night and they would just be staring out into the woods like they were scared of something. And then one night, something very strange happened. So it was about 11 o'clock at night. And on the back door, they hear boom, 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 a knock. And that's when his father goes to the back door and he opens it up. There was no one out there. He said as he looked out into the woods, he started to hear screams. And it sounded like someone was in trouble. So he said he got up and him and his father went outside and they started looking around. They couldn't see anybody. So eventually they called the police. And the police came out and they searched the area. They couldn't find anyone. Well, on a regular basis, they started hearing screams outside their house coming from the woods. And every night, something would be knocking on their back door. A few times, they found the back door wide open. The other weird thing that started happening is Christian's brother started having these weird nightmares. And not only was he having nightmares, he started to sleepwalk. And he would get up from his bed, he'd walk down the hallway into the kitchen and out the back door. And right before he would get into the woods, his dad or his mom would stop him and wake him up. And, this happened several times. Well, eventually his father put up like a camera outside because he was trying to figure out who's knocking on the back door. And one day he looks at the video and he sees his son going out the back door. And he notices he just starts looking around like he's looking for something out in the woods, like something was calling him. And finally, his father comes running out, stops him. So the father started to get really creeped out. He told Christian and his brothers and sisters, do not go out in the woods. And he said that's when one night there was a very loud banging sound coming from the back door. And it was almost like someone was trying to get in this door. So he said his father grabs a baseball bat. He goes to the back door and he opens it. And he looks around, and out of the corner of his eyes, he sees something moving in the woods. So he said his father started to make his way towards the wood line. And that's when he sees something run back further into the woods. So his father starts to go into the woods down this trail. And he said he could see this thing from a distance. And he noticed when he would kind of move, it would move. Or when he would turn to the right, it would turn to the right. Or when he would turn to the left, it would turn to the left. And he said whatever he would do, whatever movement he would do, this thing would follow. He said that's when he realized whatever this was, it was almost like looking at a mirror. This thing was copying him. It was following his every movement. So his father turns around, takes off running through the woods, gets back in the house, and tells everyone, get in the vehicle, we are leaving. And they moved that night and left everything behind in the house. And he said still to this day, he has nightmares whenever he's near the woods because he still thinks about his time living in that place.
My husband and I were chased by something in the woods of...
Okay, so if you really don't want to sleep tonight, let me tell you about the thing that lives in the Appalachian woods. And if you like this stuff, I have a whole episode on it. Generations ago in northern Appalachia, there was this one community that all let their children be babysat by this one woman named Mother Tabitha. This community was really cut off from the rest of the world, and they didn't realize that they had a higher child mortality rate than was normal at the time. So one day, an older brother ran to Mother Tabitha's house to go pick up his little brother. When he gets there, he looks in through the window and he sees that Mother Tabitha is doing this really strange dance, and all of the kids are totally bewitched by it. And next to her dancing is this creature that has a caribou for a head. It's got like the body of a human, but a caribou head. This child freaks out and runs to tell the adults, who all go to Mother Tabitha's house. And when they get there, they also realize that another child has died under Tabitha's care that day. Remember, this is an Appalachian community. They know that there's witches that live in the woods, so the parents all freak out and chase Tabitha out. As she's running away, her dress flaps, and they can see that underneath her dress, there's a ton of bones. Really small ones, like child-sized bones. And this is because Tabitha wasn't human. She was a monster that lived in the woods, and the caribou-headed creature was the devil. What she had been doing was killing the children in her care, allowing the parents to bury the child, and then digging it up and eating it. And she escaped into the woods, and people think she's still out there, so stay safe.
In the backyard. Let's talk about the American folklore, the Hidebehind. The Hidebehind is a creature that hides behind trees and preys upon any human being that they see wander in the woods. American folklore talks about this creature and blames it for the disappearance of early loggers who wandered the woods and failed to return back to their camps. Just like its name, this creature is able to conceal itself from anyone behind any trees. The Hidebehind itself is said to be related to some type of skinwalker because it has a human-like figure, but it's not. Let's say you're walking in the woods and somewhat come upon something following you. The Hidebehind will never let you see it because as soon as you look back at it, it'll hide behind the tree, and it hides very well. Rumor has it that allegedly there was a kid who went into the woods just to find the Hidebehind. This boy claimed that he lured the Hidebehind to follow him home. He claimed that he found a tree in the woods, knocked on the tree, hugged the tree, repeat the words Hidebehind, follow me home, then left a trail of breadcrumbs all the way back to his house. I'm gonna do this tonight on live stream, so be sure to click my live event.
Shout out to all of those TikTok videos that talk about if you're walking in the woods in Appalachia and you hear something or you see something, no you didn't, because I think that just saved my life last night. Story time. Excuse the garage. I'm at my parents' place, and this is the only place my dog is allowed, who plays a crucial role in this story, by the way. He's a very, very good boy, and last night proved it. So, my parents don't live in Appalachia, but they do live in an area that's a little more secluded. It's still a suburb, but it's pressed up against these hills with lots of untouched wilderness, and coyotes are running through there all the time. It's just a little bit more rural. So I'm sitting in their backyard, which has this tall fence all the way around it, and the wilderness comes right up to that fence. I'm sitting there around the campfire. My dog is laying beside me. I got my laptop open and I'm writing my little stories. Suddenly, my dog lifts his head, stares straight ahead at the fire, doesn't even look around at the yard, stares straight ahead at the fire and starts to growl. All dog owners know that your dog has different types of barks and growls.
This was his warning growl. This is the growl he does when there is danger coming and he's telling it to back away. So immediately I'm like, buddy, what's wrong? What's wrong? What's wrong? And then I hear a voice at the fence line. And it's not just any voice. It's the voice of a little girl. And it sounds like a creepy doll from a horror movie. It's got that kind of like mechanical quality to it. And it's kind of like muffled and garbled. I'm still getting the heebie-jeebies. And all it does is go, hello? Just like that. Just like that. Hi, just same tone and everything. Now, mind you, it's midnight. There are not going to be any little girls wandering the woods at midnight. So immediately I was like, well, this is either someone who's gonna me, or it's something else. And what made me think it was something else was the fact that the voice said again, hello? Only this time it had moved, and it had gotten closer, and I'd heard no footsteps. It was just floating closer. And then, mind you, my dog is still growling this entire time. For the next 5 minutes, that voice is just circling the fence line, going, hello, hi, hello, hey. Like, just like that creepy doll voice floating around the fence line. And then suddenly my dog stopped growling, and he put his head down and he went back to sleep, and the voice stopped. And I thought, okay, cool, that was weird. And then all of a sudden he lifted his head back up again and started growling. And then the sound of a ticking clock came from the bush directly across from me. Again, heard no footsteps, heard no rustling. Just a ticking clock started in the middle of the night, in the middle of the woods. So don't know what that was. But if anyone wants to hop in the comments and let me know, that'd be great. Because I can't wait to go home today. And I don't see myself coming back here anytime soon.
And a big shout out to my protector. Yes, big scary boy.
Have you ever wondered why people say it's not a good idea to play hide and go seek in the woods at night? Well, it's not just because it's dangerous. You see, the woods at night can be very creepy. Things happen. So this is a story that I heard from someone named Sabrina. Sabrina said when she was a young girl, she would go with her family to West Virginia to see her aunt, uncle, and cousins. And she said she always enjoyed this because she got to hang out with her cousins who were close to her in age. Well, she said this particular time when they had went down, it was like a Saturday night, and the parents were all inside kind of, drinking and talking and having a good time. And they really didn't care what the kids were doing. So they were in the backyard playing, and their backyard was situated against the woods. So one of her cousins had the idea, like, hey, we should go in the woods and play hide and go seek. And Sabrina was like, I don't know if that's like a good idea. Like, it's pretty dark. And he's like, oh, come on, it'll be fine. We play out here all the time in the woods. So they go out into the woods and they start hiding. Their cousin is the seeker. So Sabrina said she went down kind of what looked like a trail, and she found these sort of bushes. She goes around the bushes and kind of finds a spot in between where it's kind of open and no one could see her. So she's sitting in the bushes just hiding. It's completely dark out except for the moonlight. And she said all of a sudden she felt like someone was standing behind her. And she could hear breathing. At this time, she thinks that this is one of her cousins. And so she's like, go find somewhere else to hide. You're going to get us found. This is my spot. Find somewhere else. She said they didn't say anything. And she said, wait a second. Is that my cousin? We're out in the middle of the woods. She looks behind her. There's no one there. And she was like, oh, that's weird. She's like, I heard it. I hope he hurry up and finds me. Because that was kind of creepy. So off in the distance, she can kind of hear her cousin one by one, finding people. And he still hasn't found her yet. So she thinks maybe I hid too good and I need to go basically find him so he could say he found me, and then I could go back in the yard. So she starts wandering around in the woods. And then she's like, you know what? I'm just going to call out his name so he can find me. So she starts saying his name out loud, you know. And she says it. And she hears him say, hey, where are you? And she's like, I'm over here. And then she heard it again. Hey, where are you? And she's like, I said, I'm over here. Like, come and find me. Like, I'm over here. And once again, she heard it. Hey, I'm over here. So she walks in the direction of what she thinks is her cousin at this time. And she's like, hey, where are you? Like, where are you at? Like, come and find me. I want you to find me so we can be done with the game. And he's like, I'm over this way. Come just a little bit further. And she said she didn't know why, but she had like this bad feeling like maybe she should head back to the yard. Like something was just off about the situation. So she started walking back towards the yard. And she said all of a sudden, standing by the bushes, she sees her cousin. And she's like, okay, you found me now. Let's go back to the yard. And she said he was just standing there, very still, like staring at her. And she's like, okay, come on. Like, this isn't funny. Let's go back to the yard. And he's just standing there, like not doing anything. So she just was like, all right, whatever, you stay out here. I'm going back to the yard. She makes it back to the yard, and she doesn't see any of her cousins. She goes inside, and her cousins are sitting down there talking with the parents. And she's like, wait, weren't you just outside? Like, how did you get inside so fast? And he's like, what are you talking about? He's like, I found everyone except for you, and then I gave up, and we all went inside. And then she's like, but who was that outside? And they're like, what are you talking about? There's no one outside. So she's like, okay, whatever. She goes to bed that night, and she's sleeping in a room by herself. Well, she wakes up, and she said standing in her room was her cousin. And she said like he was just standing very, very still, looking at the wall. And she's like, what are you doing, creepo? Like, why are you in my room? And he said, let's go play hide and seek. And she's like, what? No, it's like midnight. Like, I'm not going outside. Let's go play hide and go seek. And she's like, what are you talking about? He turns, walks to the window, and she said like he opened the window and just like went out the window and walked into the woods. So like she got up, ran, and told her parents like, hey, my cousin's like, he just went outside into the backyard and asked me to play hide and go seek. So like the parents got up her aunt and uncle, and where's her cousin? He's still in bed.